couldn't remember how she had gotten there or what had happened after leaving the lounge with Oledu. With trembling hands, Ugada gathered her belongings and hurriedly left the unfamiliar room, her heart racing with fear and uncertainty. Once upon a time, in a small village called Okpeze, there lived two siblings named Ugada and Owa. Ugada, a 25-year-old woman with eyes that sparkled like the stars and hair that shimmered in the sunlight, grew alongside her brother Owa. Their parents had passed away when they were very young, leaving Owa, only 3 years older than Ugada, to shoulder the responsibility of caring for his sister. Ugo, let's head home, Owa would say, using his special pet's name for his sister. As they walked back from his small shop every evening, Ugada would smile warmly, feeling grateful for her brother's love and dedication. Uwa had made a sacrifice for Ugada that not many brothers would make. He had dropped out of school to ensure that his sister could continue her education. Despite the challenges, Ugada worked hard and excelled in her studies, eventually graduating from university with flying colors. However, finding a job proved to be more difficult than she had anticipated, and she found herself returning to help Owa at his shop in their quiet little city. Their shop, nestled on the corner of a bustling street, was a cozy heaven filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the sound of laughter. It was a place where neighbors gathered to chat and children came to buy sweets with their pocket money. "Good morning, Ugo." Owa greeted his sister cheerfully as she arrived at the shop one sunny morning. "Good morning, Owa," Ugada replied with a smile, tying on her apron and preparing to start the day's work. As they walked side by side, Ugada couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and gratitude towards her brother. Despite the hardships they had faced, Owa had always been there for her, supporting her dreams and encouraging her to never give up. "Owa, do you ever regret dropping out of school for me?" Ugada asked one day, breaking the comfortable silence that had settled between them. Owa paused for a moment, wiping his hands on his apron before turning to face his sister with a gentle smile. "Never, Ugo. Seeing you succeed brings me more joy than anything else in this world. Your education was worth every sacrifice." Ugada felt a lump form in her throat as she listened to her brother's words. She realized then just how much Owa had sacrificed for her, and she vowed to make him proud. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Ugada and Owa's bond grew stronger with each passing day. They faced challenges together, weathered storms together, and celebrated victories together. One evening, as they closed up the shop and made their way home, Ugada couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment wash over her. She may not have a fancy job or a glamorous life, but she had something far more precious: a brother who loved her unconditionally and a bond that would withstand the test of time. As they reached their humble little house, Ugada turned to her brother with a smile. "Thank you, Owa, for everything." Owa smiled back, his eyes twinkling with affection. No, Ugo, thank you for being the best sister a brother could ask for. And with that, they stepped into their home, ready to face whatever the future held together. In the quiet village where Ugada and Owa lived, life continued at its steady pace. The days at the shop flowed one into the other, filled with the familiar rhythm of baking bread and serving customers. But amidst the routine, something unexpected happened that would change Ugada's life forever. One sunny afternoon, as Ugada was sweeping the front porch of their shop, she noticed a handsome young man walking down the street. His name was Odira, and he had recently returned from the city to work at his father's company in the village. Odira had a friendly smile and a kind demeanor, and Ugada couldn't help but feel a flutter in her heart whenever he passed by their shop. "Good afternoon, Ugo," Odira greeted with a smile as he walked past, his eyes meeting hers. "Good afternoon, Odira," Ugada replied, her cheeks flushing slightly at the sight of him. As the days went by, Ugada found herself looking forward to Odira's visits more and more. They would chat and laugh together, exchanging stories about their lives and dreams. Odira was a graduate with big aspirations, and Ugada admired his ambition and determination. One day, as they stood outside the shop chatting, Odira noticed Ugada stealing glances at him and decided to break the ice. "You seem to be staring at me quite a lot, Ugo. Is there something on my face?" he teased with a grin. Ugada blushed, feeling caught off guard. "Oh no, I I was just admiring the view," she stammered, feeling embarrassed. Odira chuckled, his laughter contagious. "Well, I'm flattered. How about we grab a cup of coffee together sometime?" And just like that, a friendship blossomed between Ugada and Odira. They spent more and more time together, exploring the village and getting to know each other. Ugada found herself opening up to Odira in a way she never had with anyone else, sharing her hopes, fears, and dreams. But amidst the newfound friendship, Owa couldn't help but feel uneasy. He had heard rumors about Odira's past and worried that his intentions might not be genuine. "Ugo, I don't trust that young man," Owa would caution his sister whenever she mentioned Odira. "You need to be careful around him." But Ugada would only smile and brush off her brother's concerns. "Oh, Owa, you worry too much. Odira is just a friend. There is nothing to be afraid of." Despite her reassurances, Owa couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the pit of his stomach. He knew that Ugada was a grown woman capable of making her own decisions, but he couldn't help but worry about her safety and well-being. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Ugada's bond with Odira grew stronger. They shared laughter and secrets, dreams and aspirations, and Ugada found herself falling for him more and more with each passing day. Soon enough, Ugada and Odira's friendship blossomed into something more beautiful: love. Odira's charming smile and kind heart had captured Ugada's heart, and before she knew it, she found herself head over heels in love with him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, Odira took Ugada by the hand and led her to a secluded spot overlooking the village. With trembling hands and a heart full of love, he got down on one knee and gazed into her eyes. "Ugo, my dearest Ugada," Odira began, his voice filled with emotion. "From the moment I met you, I knew you were the one for me. You have brought so much joy and happiness into my life, and I can't imagine spending another day without you by my side. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Tears of joy welled up in Ugada's eyes as she listened to Odira's heartfelt words. "Yes, Odira, 1,000 times yes," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him and holding him close. Owa and their friends, who had been hiding nearby, erupted into cheers and applause, their voices echoing through the night sky. It was a moment of pure happiness and celebration, and Ugada felt like the luckiest woman in the world. After the party had died down and their friends had bid them farewell, Odira received an urgent call from his office and had to leave in a hurry. Ugada watched him go, a pang of sadness tugging at her heart as she realized that their time together was limited. But amidst the flurry of excitement and emotions, Ugada found solace in the comforting presence of her best friend Oledo. Oledo had been by Ugada's side since they were young girls in high school, and their bond was unbreakable. As they sat together under the twinkling stars, Ugada poured her heart out to Oledo, sharing her hopes and fears, dreams and aspirations. Oledo listened attentively, offering words of encouragement and support. "Ugo, I'm so happy for you," Oledo said, squeezing her friend's hand gently. "Odira is a wonderful man, and I know he will make you very happy." Ugada smiled through her tears, feeling grateful for Oledo's unwavering friendship. "Thank you, Oledo. I don't know what I would do without you." As they sat together in the quiet of the night, surrounded by the sounds of nature and the gentle rustle of leaves, Ugada felt a sense of peace wash over her. She may not know what the future held, but she knew that as long as she had Oledo by her side, she could face whatever challenges came her way. Later that night, Oledo suggested they head to a nearby lounge to continue celebrating Ugada's engagement. With the excitement still coursing through her veins, Ugada eagerly agreed, eager to spend more time with her best friend. The lounge was alive with music and laughter, and Ugada and Oledo found themselves swept up in the vibrant atmosphere. They ordered drinks and danced the night away, lost in the joy of the moment. But as the night wore on and the drinks flowed freely, Ugada's memories began to blur and fade. She couldn't recall how many drinks she had consumed or how much time had passed. All she knew was that she felt dizzy and disoriented, her surroundings spinning in a haze of confusion. The next thing Ugada knew, she woke up in a strange room. her head pounding and her mouth dry. Panic surged through her as she struggled to piece together the events of the previous night. She couldn't remember how she had gotten there or what had happened after leaving the lounge with Oledo. With trembling hands, Ugada gathered her belongings and hurriedly left the unfamiliar room, her heart racing with fear and uncertainty. She felt like she was in a nightmare from which she couldn't wake up, and all she wanted was to escape and find safety. Running through the empty streets, Ugada finally arrived home, her breath coming in raged gasps as she pounded on the floor, desperate to be reunited with her brother. When Owa opened the door and saw the distress written all over her face, he pulled her into a tight embrace, his concern evident in his eyes. "What happened, Ugo? Are you all right?" Owa asked, his voice laced with concern. Tears welled up in Ugada's eyes as she recounted the events of the previous night, her words tumbling out in a rush of fear and confusion. I I don't know what happened, Owa. I woke up in a strange room and I can't remember anything after leaving the lounge with Oledo. I'm so scared." Owa's heart broke as he listened to his sister's distressing tale. He knew he had to do something to help her, to get to the bottom of what had happened and ensure her safety. "Shh, it's okay, Ugo. I'm here for you," Owa whispered soothingly, rubbing his sister's back in a comforting gesture. "We will figure this out together, I promise." With a determined look in his eyes, Owa suggested that Ugada reach out to Oledo for an explanation. Perhaps her best friend could shed some light on the events of the previous night and help them unravel the mystery. Ugada nodded, her mind racing with questions and fears. She reached for her phone and dialed Oledo's number, but to her dismay, her calls went unanswered. Panic surged through her once again as she realized that her best friend was avoiding her. To make matter worse, she noticed a string of missed calls from Odira on her phone, indicating that he had tried to reach her throughout the night. Ugada's heart spun with confusion as she struggled to make sense of the situation. What had happened to her? And why was everyone avoiding her? With more questions than answers, Ugada clung to her brother's comforting presence, grateful for his unwavering support in her time of need. After some hours, Ugada got courage to visit Odira, her heart heavy with fear and confusion. She found Odira waiting for her, his expression a mix of fury and disappointment. He demanded to know where she had been the previous night and why she hadn't answered his calls. Ugada stood before him, her throat dry and her mind racing, unable to find the words to explain what had happened. I'm sorry, Odira," Ugada stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what happened. I can't remember anything from last night." Odira's eyes narrowed as he studied her, suspicion evident in his gaze. "What do you mean you can't remember? Are you trying to hide something from me?" Ugada felt a lump form in her throat as she struggled to find the courage to tell Odira the truth. She knew that revealing what had happened would only lead to more questions and accusations, and she feared that he wouldn't believe her. But before she could gather her thoughts, Odira pulled out his phone and showed her a picture that made her blood run cold. It was a photo of her lying in bed next to a strange man. Their faces blurred, but their closeness unmistakable. Ugada's eyes widened in shock as she stared at the damning evidence before her, her mind reeling with disbelief. I don't understand, Ugada whispered, her voice barely audible above the pounding of her heart. I swear, I don't remember anything like this happening. Odira's expression darkened as he looked at her, his disappointment palpable. I can't believe I trusted you, Ugo. I thought you were different. But it seems I was wrong. I can't marry someone who would betray my trust like this. Tears welled up in Ugada's eyes as she pleaded with Odira, begging him to listen to her side of the story. Please, Odira, I I can explain. Just give me a chance to. But Odira cut her off with a shake of his head, his resolve firm. I don't want to hear your excuses. Ugo, it's over between us. With a heavy heart, Ugada removed the engagement ring from her finger and placed it on the table, her hands trembling with emotion. She looked at Odira one last time, her eyes filled with pain and regret, before turning and walking away, her footsteps echoing in the empty room. As she left Odira's house, tears streaming down her cheeks, Ugada felt a sense of betrayal and heartache unlike anything she had ever experienced before. She couldn't understand how everything had fallen apart so quickly, how the love she had thought was real had turned out to be nothing but a cruel illusion. But amidst the pain and despair, Ugada knew that she couldn't give up. She had to find out the truth behind that fateful night, to uncover the secrets and lies that had torn her life apart. And with her brother Owa by her side, she would stop at nothing to seek justice and reclaim the happiness that had been stolen from her. Heart heavy with sorrow and betrayal, Ugada returned home to the comforting embrace of her brother Owa. She collapsed in his arms, tears streaming down her cheeks, as she recounted the painful events that had unfolded at Odira's house. Owa held her close, his own heart aching for the pain his sister was enduring. Don't worry, Ugo, Owa whispered, his voice filled with love and reassurance. Your own man will come. You deserve someone who will cherish and respect you. Days passed, each one filled with a heavy sense of emptiness and longing as Ugada tried to come to terms with the betrayal she had endured. Despite Owa's comforting words, the pain of Odira's rejection cut deep, leaving her feeling lost and alone. But despite her heartache, Ugada couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more to the story than met the eye. Something didn't add up, and she couldn't rest until she uncovered the truth. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Ugada mustered up the courage to return to Odira's house, hoping against hope that she could find some answers. But what she saw shattered her world into a million pieces. Standing at the gate, Ugada watched in disbelief as Odira and her best friend Oledo emerged from the house. their arms linked together and smiles playing on their lips. The sight of them together was like a knife to her heart, twisting and turning with each passing moment. Unable to contain her anguish any longer, Ugada approached them, her voice trembling with emotion. Oh, Odira, how could you? And you, Oledo, how could you betray me like this? Odira's expression hardened as he turned to face her, his eyes cold and indifferent. I told you, Ugo, it's over between us. You need to move on. Before Ugada could respond, Odira motioned to the gateman, instructing him to escort her off the premises and ensure that she never returned. Ugada felt a surge of anger and despair wash over her as she realized that she had been cast aside like yesterday's news, discarded and forgotten by the ones she had trusted most. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Ugada fled from Odira's house, her heart shattered into a million pieces. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her, back to the safety and comfort of her brother's embrace. As she collapsed into Uwa's arms once again, Ugada shared the heartbreaking news of Odira and Oledo's betrayal. Uwa held her close, his heart heavy with sorrow as he watched his sister suffer. Don't cry, Ugo, Uwa whispered softly, his voice filled with love and compassion. God's timing is perfect. He will bring the right person in your life when the time is right. Trust in him and everything will be okay. Ugada nodded, her tears still flowing freely, and she clung to her brother's comforting embrace. Despite the pain and heartache, she knew that she wasn't alone. With Uwa by her side, she would find the strength to endure whatever trials lay ahead and emerge stronger and more resilient than ever before. As Ugada returned from the market one sunny afternoon, her heart heavy with the weight of betrayal, she spotted Oledo walking along the street. Desperation clawed at her heart as she rushed towards her former friend, her voice trembling with anger and hurt. Oledo, how could you? Ugada cried, her eyes brimming with tears. Why did you betray me? Why did you take Odira away from me? Oledo's expression remained cold and indifferent as she looked at Ugada, her eyes devoid of any remorse. I did what I had to do to get what I wanted, Ugo, she replied, her voice dripping with disdain. And if you know what is good for you, you will stay away from me. Ugada felt her heart shatter into a million pieces as she realized the depth of Oledo's betrayal. She had trusted her best friend with her deepest secrets and fears, only to have her turn against her in the cruelest of ways possible. The pain was almost too much to bear, and Ugada struggled to hold back her tears as she turned and walked away, feeling more alone and heartbroken than ever before. Weeks passed, each one filled with a heavy sense of despair and loneliness as Ugada tried to come to terms with the devastating turn her life had taken. The betrayal of both Odira and Oledo weighed heavily on her heart, leaving her feeling lost and adrift in a sea of pain. But amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope emerged as Ugada began to experience strange symptoms that she couldn't ignore. Nausea and fatigue pledged her every waking moment, leaving her feeling weak and helpless. Concerned for his sister's well-being, Owa took her to the hospital for a checkup, praying for answers to the mystery that had engulfed them. As the doctor confirmed Ugada's suspicions, her world came crashing down around her once again. She was pregnant, a living, breathing reminder of the love she had shared with Odira and the betrayal that had torn them apart. Ugada's heart shattered as she struggled to come to terms with the reality of her situation. How could she face Odira and tell him about the child growing inside her? How could she bear the weight of his disappointment and anger, knowing that she had been betrayed by those who she had trusted? Tears streamed down Ugada's cheeks as she clung to her brother, her heart heavy with sorrow and regret. She had never imagined that her life would take such a painful turn, and yet, here she was, facing a future filled with uncertainty and fear. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerged as Owa wrapped his arms around her, offering words of comfort and support. "Don't worry, Ugo," he whispered, his voice filled with love and reassurance. "We will get through this together. God has a plan for us and everything will be okay." Ugada nodded, her tears still flowing freely as she leaned into her brother's embrace. Despite the pain and heartache, she knew that she wasn't alone. With Owa by her side, she would find the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Ugada grappled with the weight of her pregnancy, her brother Owa urged her to gather the courage to tell Odira about it. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Ugada made her way to Odira's house, hoping against hope that he would listen to her and believe her. When she arrived, she found Odira and Oledo together, their faces filled with disdain as they looked at her. Ugada mustered all her courage and asked to speak with Odira alone for a few minutes. Reluctantly, Odira agreed, his expression cold and indifferent. "What do you want, Ugo?" Odira asked impatiently, his voice laced with irritation. Ugada took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest as she prepared to reveal the truth. "Odira, I am pregnant," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's your child." But before she could say another word, Odira cut her off with a scoff, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Don't be ridiculous, Ugo. You are just trying to trap me with your lies. I want nothing to do with you or your imaginary pregnancy. Now leave." Tears welled up in Ugada's eyes as she pleaded with Odira to believe her, to listen to her side of the story. But he refused to even entertain the possibility, dismissing her words with a wave of his hand. Feeling defeated and alone, Ugada turned to leave, her heart heavy with sorrow and regret. But before she could make her escape, Oledo stepped forward, her voice dripping with venom. "You had him, Ugo. You are not welcome here," Oledo spat, her eyes flashing with malice. "Go find the man who got you pregnant, because Odira and I are getting married." Ugada's heart shattered as she stared at the ring on Oledo's finger, a painful reminder of the life she had lost. With tears streaming down her cheeks, she turned and fled from Odira's house, vowing to take care of her child on her own. As she made her way back home, Ugada felt a sense of despair wash over her. How could the man she loved and trusted turn his back on her so easily? How could her best friend betray her in the cruelest way possible? But amidst the pain and heartache, Ugada found solace in the comforting presence of her brother Owa. He wrapped his arms around her, offering words of comfort and reassurance. "Don't worry, Ugo," Owa whispered, her voice filled with love and compassion. "I will be here for you no matter what. We will get through this together." With Owa by her side, Ugada knew that she wasn't alone. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, she would find the strength to face them head on and emerge stronger. As the months passed, Ugada and Owa worked tirelessly to make ends meet. Their determination and resilience unwavering in the face of adversity. And finally, after 9 long months, Ugada gave birth to two beautiful babies, a boy and a girl, each a precious gift that filled their home with joy and love. With Uwa by her side, Ugada embraced the challenges of single parenthood, pouring all her love and devotion into raising her children. Despite the hardships they faced, their home was filled with laughter and warmth, a testament to the strength of their bond as siblings. Meanwhile, at Odira's house, years had passed since he had married Oledo, but their marriage was far from happy. Oledo's attitudes towards Odira had soured over the years, her behavior becoming increasingly erratic and disrespectful. She would cheat on him with different men and squander his hard-earned money without a second thought. One fateful day, Odira returned home from work earlier than usual, only to walk in on a scene that shattered his world into a million pieces. There, on their matrimonial bed, lay Oledo, entwined with another man. Their betrayal laid bare for all to see. Shock and disbelief washed over Odira as he struggled to come to terms with the painful truth. How could the woman he had loved and trusted betray him in such a cruel and heartless manner? How could she disrespect their marriage and their vows with such callous disregard? Fueled by a mixture of anger and sorrow, Odira confronted Oledo, demanding answers to the questions that burned in his heart. And it was then that Oledo, with a smirk on her lips and malice in her eyes, revealed a secret that had been buried for over 5 years. "You think you are the victim here, Odira?" Oledo sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "Well, let me tell you the truth. You were responsible for Ugada's pregnancy all those years ago. I practically set her up that night. And you fell into my trap." Odira's world came crashing down around him as he struggled to comprehend the magnitude of Oledo's betrayal. He couldn't believe his ears as the truth sunk in, leaving him feeling hollow and broken inside. In a fit of rage and despair, Odira demanded that Oledo leave and never come back. His heart heavy with the weight of the lies and deceit that had tainted their marriage. As she slinked away into the darkness, Odira was left alone to grapple with the painful truth of his past actions and the devastating consequences they had brought. Meanwhile, at Ugada's home, surrounded by the love and laughter of her children, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Despite the trials and tribulations she had faced, she knew that she was blessed to have her brother Owa by her side, guiding her and supporting her every step of the way. As she looked into the eyes of her beautiful babies, Ugada felt a renewed sense of hope and optimism for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew that she would face them with courage and determination, secure in the knowledge that she was not alone. And as the sun set on another day, casting its golden rays across the sky, Ugada embraced the new beginning that awaited her, ready to embark on the next chapter of her journey with strength, resilience, and love in her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Odira couldn't shake the overwhelming sense of regret and longing that consumed him. Despite the pain and heartache, he knew that he needed to make amends for the mistakes of his past and seek forgiveness from the woman he had wronged. With a heavy heart and determined spirit, Odira set out in search of Ugada and their child, his steps heavy with the weight of his guilt. He found himself standing outside Owa's shop, his hands trembling as he recounted the painful truth to Owa, begging for his help in reuniting with Ugada. Owa hesitated at first, his loyalty torn between his sister and the man who had caused her so much pain. But in the end, he couldn't turn his back on Odira's genuine remorse and desire for redemption. With a solemn nod, Owa agreed to accompany Odira to see Ugada, praying for a miracle to heal the wounds of the past. When they arrived, Ugada's initial reaction was one of fury and disbelief. She couldn't believe that Odira had the audacity to show his face after everything that had happened. But Owa, ever the voice of reason, pleaded with her to hear Odira out, to give him a chance to make amends for his mistakes. Reluctantly, Ugada agreed to let Odira speak, her heart heavy with skepticism and doubt. But as he poured out his heart, laying bare the depth of his regret and sorrow, she felt a glimmer of hope stir within her. Day after day, Owa would patiently talk to his sister, urging her to reconsider her decision and open her heart to forgiveness. And slowly but surely, Ugada began to soften, her anger giving way to a conscious sense of acceptance. Finally, after much persuasion, Ugada agreed to let Odira in, allowing him the opportunity to plead his case once more. With tears in his eyes, Odira recounted the painful truth of his betrayal, expressing his deepest regrets and begging for Ugada's forgiveness. Ugada listened in silence, her heart torn between the pain of the past and the possibility of a future filled with love and reconciliation. And as Odira fell to his knees, his words filled with sincerity and remorse. She felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. At last, with a heavy sigh, Ugada forgave Odira, her heart filled with a sense of peace and closure. She brought their children to him, their innocent faces a reminder of the love they shared and the family they had created together. With tears of gratitude, streaming down his cheeks. Odira hugged the twins tightly, vowing to be the father they deserved and the husband Ugada had always dreamed of. And as they embraced, surrounded by the warmth of their love, they knew that they had been given a second chance at happiness. In the days that followed, Ugada and Odira renewed their commitment to each other, their bond stronger than ever before. They got married in a simple yet heartfelt ceremony, surrounded by their loved ones and filled with hope for the future. As for Owa, he found love and happiness of his own, starting a family of his own and cherishing each moment spent with his beloved wife and children. But the story of Oledo took a different turn. She was arrested alongside her boyfriend for drug trafficking. Her life of deceit and betrayal finally catching up with her. And so, Ugada and Odira, along with their beautiful children, lived happily ever after. Their journey marked by love, forgiveness, and the unwavering bond of family. This story teaches us that trust is fragile and once broken, it can be difficult to rebuild. Jealousy and betrayal can cause immense pain and damage relationships deeply. When Oledo betrayed Ugada out of jealousy, it led to a chain of events that shattered lives. However, forgiveness and love have the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Despite the pain and heartache, Ugada found it in her heart to forgive Odira and give their love another chance. Love, in the end, triumphs over jealousy and betrayal. It reminds us that nurturing love and trust in our relationship is essential for happiness and harmony. Thank you for watching this amazing story about Ugada on African Stories. If you liked it and felt inspired with her journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.